Cook Off, the classic endless heist from Payday 2, is back within Payday 3, granting us our first holdout-themed heist, which actually suits the sequel's mechanics really well. But not everything is as it once was. The heist itself has been built from the ground up to be visually, mechanically, and structurally unique, offering new opportunities to maximise your reward, as well as new challenges to keep you on your toes. Unfortunately, this has come at the cost of the heist's endless nature, as it now has a fixed bag limit, although don't worry too much, as Payday 3's attrition-based combat was never suited for heisting endlessly, and its 19 bag cap is more than time-consuming and difficult enough, especially considering how assault waves ramp up to turn the screws on most crews. This video is going to walk you through all of Cook Off's major mechanics, heist differences for Payday 2 veterans, and some effective strategies to stop you from burning the house down. Let's get cooking. Immediately loading into the heist, there are a few noticeable changes from its Payday 2 counterpart. You're not on any sort of timer, so can start exploring the outskirts of the heist freely, which has been slightly expanded, giving it a more open feel, despite its dark and moody atmosphere. Stepping into the lab though, things are a lot less scripted than they once were, as you'll arrive with the cooks already dead, but 5 police responders within the building, and a couple of gangsters already arrested. Even if you try to finesse these guys in stealth, there's simply too many radios to answer, meaning this is once again a force loud only heist, which is just the way I'd want it to be. After dealing with the cops, their prisoners will become your hostages, which will be crucial to stop grenadiers from gassing out the entire lab. The scene you walk in on is mostly familiar, with a similar layout to what we're used to. You have the ground floor, a potential location for the objective equipment, with its kitchen counter and slightly wider bathroom. Heading upstairs, this room has been slightly changed, with the balcony removed, the side room being opened up, and a new entrance directly to the upper floor installed via some scaffolding. Of course, depending on RNG, this can also be the cooking spot, but with the added entrances, it's no longer the optimal one for camping out. Where the primary differences can be found are down in the basement. This used to be a closed-off room with just a few ingredients placed inside, but now it's a potential objective location of its own and has been expanded with new horizontal windows for cops to slide through and a connecting garage area that loops around to the north side of the building. This is my preferred cooking spot, as it's almost certainly the most well-covered and defensible, especially when you make use of the wooden planks to board up the windows. Just like the old days, you can find a few of these scattered around the heist, although their value is slightly higher, as I find the cops in Payday 3 are much better at target acquisition and will aim to flank through as many entrances as possible if you don't cover them up. Moving on to the section of the review you're most interested in though, how does cooking work now? Well, very similarly really, with a few small tweaks and general improvements. Placed around the heist are a few sets of chemicals, hydrogen chloride, caustic soda and muriatic acid, the old water formula, which when combined in a very specific but apparently variable order, creates the purest meth. There are a couple of new upstairs spawns for these ingredients and the garage houses a few, but for the most part your Payday 2 knowledge will carry over when it comes to locating them. Actually using them will also be quite familiar, as Shade takes on Bane's previous role, apparently reading directly from his notes, which has led to some funny lines of dialogue, to instruct you on which compound to add to the reaction. From my playtesting, if she ever reads the wrong ingredient, she'll correct it so quickly that you wouldn't have even had time to add it, and she won't ever make an outright mistake, as those Payday 2 vets amongst us might remember Bane doing at launch. If you do miss here though and add the wrong ingredient, you will, in slightly underwhelming fashion, blow up the cooking equipment, disorientating your view for a few seconds and making it impossible to proceed with the objective. If you do this after already cooking at least 3 bags, you'll receive a relatively generous point of no return window, during which you must secure them and escape. But if you don't already have enough loot, this sparks an almost immediate heist failure state. This is pretty familiar for Payday 2 players, but there are some sizable differences when it comes to the process itself. First of all, Shade seems to be much faster with her instructions than before. Bane used to give them at quite an inconsistent cadence, but she reels them off evenly, and you'll be able to start the next batch as soon as you secure the previous one. The most impactful change on the cooking process though is in how it can actually be halted by sabotage squads going after the power supply. If the power on the house is pulled and the lights go out now, you're no longer able to just cook meth in the dark and will have to head out to the power switch before you can progress the current batch. This is probably a necessary change from a difficulty perspective, as it would be quite simple to just camp inside the house without ever leaving, but forcing you to protect or switch the power back on creates a lot more room for jeopardy and brings Payday 3's snipers into contention, who will aim to move around the outskirts of the heist instead of acting as sentry spawns to get a decent angle on the heisting party. The loot you produce through the cooking process also has some added complexity. After a batch is complete, you can choose to leave it to heat up further and change states. Think of it as Monster Hunter. With the right timing, you can get some well-cooked meth when it changes to these bright blue crystals, or burnt meth when it goes red. Your loot bags will be marked to indicate this, and their relative financial value to the crew will vary across all 3 loot types. Very little has changed on this heist otherwise. After cooking 3 bags, Twitch will arrive to secure the loot and your potential escape. Once loot has been secured, he will only be able to hang around for so long before looping back around. So if you're going for a massive haul, it's probably best to hold off on securing any until you're ready to leave. Also, Bile can be signalled via flare once you've grabbed all the pre-placed ingredients on the map to drop in even more for setup within the cooking room. The flow on this heist is exactly as you'd expect, just with a little more intensity than you might be used to, owing to the objective changes and improved AI pathing. It's still an incredibly fun, loud playground heist to relax on, test out builds, and cook a little mess, all your favourite weekend activities. Especially within Payday 3, a game that naturally rewards combat due to its challenge-heavy leveling system. Even after Update 2's additions, this heist is a perfect fit for the game, becoming a more engaging and fun alternative to the old bathroom strats if you want to farm up some weapon kills. And the music track that accompanies it is also fantastic. It's not as moody as I expected, instead being much more evocative of the ridiculousness of the task at hand, making it the ideal music to cook by. It isn't all just sunshine and rainbows for you on this heist though. Traditionally, close quarters heists have been the easiest loud experiences within the Payday franchise, and I'm sure Starbreeze had that fact in mind when developing the new Cook Off. As such, they've designed the geometry of the map to favour the SWATs, with many new entrances and flank routes, as well as making use of Payday 3's new assault scaling mechanics to put sustained and steadily ramping pressure on you throughout. After cooking the required 3 bags around the 3rd assault wave, the cops will call in their heavy SWATs and bulldozers, meaning if you are going for all 19 bags, most will be cooked under the duress of Payday 3's full suite of enemy types. Oh, and don't get me started on the police chopper that circles the heist between assaults reading our rights. It's so annoying that it adds a surprise psychological challenge to this one. To make things even tougher though, at bag number 10 on the harder difficulties, the final charge will start, meaning not only will you be fending off New York's finest, you'll be doing it endlessly with increased spawns and no lulls in the wave. Although I've mostly tested it solo, which is naturally more challenging, full loot overkill on this heist is absolutely the hardest task Payday 3 has set us so far, and with some moderate nerfs to how we were playing prior to Update 2, this one will be a tough nut for many to crack. Which is where favours come in. This heist's earnable favours are more starting hostages, faster resource drop, a permanent escape van, and a more lenient cooking window to avoid burning anything. Personally, I'd say the stationary escape is the most impactful, so make sure to bring it along, as well as extra deployables, if you're going all out for the 40-minute plus all-bag attempt. From my few days with the heist, I think this one really showcases the overwhelming power of sentry guns in Payday 3. Whilst on the partner build I'm only around level 50, even with limited skill points, the sentries could do a lot of the heavy lifting. On very harder overkill, just 2 of these things manhandle the SWAT swarming through the primary entrances, which gives you the space to get cooking interrupted. I think if you are going to push for a truly extensive, high bag clear, having this sort of endlessly replenishable resource is key for holding things down. Here's how I built for a hostage-focused sentry setup that can go the whole distance on Cook Off. The reward for actually doing so on Overkill will be a whopping 600 IP, which isn't a bad payoff, although keep in mind most of this heist experience is backloaded into securing all loot, so I'd say you're generally best going for either 3 bags or all 19. Thank you so much for watching this video. More Update 2 content coming your way shortly, and if you haven't seen it, my complete update breakdown is already available for those of you keen to learn more about all the balancing changes this one brought with it. Take care, I'll see you all very soon when we'll be analysing the new Murky Station. A huge thank you to my dedicated Patreon backers. If you want to join this crew in going infamous, check out the link below and pledge as little as $2 to see your name in the credits, or get 24-hour early access to future videos and vote on upcoming content. Take care, I'll see you all soon.